So Ohio State versus Penn State. Initially, right off the bat, we've talked about this at the beginning of the week. This is an opportunity for us to see what Ohio State really has going for them. They're actually going to play a team that could give them some competition. We haven't really seen that. We thought we might see that with Iowa last week. That was not the case. Will Penn State be the case, or will we see a Penn State Nittany Lion team that showed up against the Michigan Wolverines? Steve, what's your thoughts?
I think this is Michigan 2.0, honestly. It's something. And again, my disdain for the Penn State athletic department and programs has been well documented on our Slasher Youth podcast
You
here.
don't say.
I know, but I mean, one number jumps out at me, and that's 347. That's how many
Mhm.
points Ohio State has already put up this season. And yes, have they played a softer schedule? Yes, they have. But ultimately, you have to win the game on the field. You got to play the opponents you have scheduled, and when they do, there's not much doubt when Ohio State's, you know, kicking off on Saturday that they're going to put a thumping on somebody. Now, I will say that the Penn State defense, I think, matches up better and causes some matchup problems more than any other team that they have faced. And Iowa's got a nationally ranked and an elite defense.
Mhm.
Penn State is athletic. Penn State can run with and keep up with Ohio State, in the secondary. Their two safeties uh, are just terrific. And I think they potentially could force some turnovers. But CJ Stroud is going to have opportunities to be patient in the pocket and force the ball. I shouldn't say force the ball and work the ball downfield because Penn State does not really have a terrific pass rush. So for me, as well as the defense potentially could keep Ohio State in check, I don't think that there's a defense anywhere, including maybe some of the bottom feeding NFL teams, that are going to be able to keep Ohio State off of the scoreboard. So I think that this is going to be a very long afternoon for Penn State fans. And,
Yeah,
and
there's
I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it. Ohio State is just this good.
Hey, I mean, bring it on. I want to hear your take on this one. Ohio State is, in my mind, the best offense in college football. I don't know if there's an argument there. I mean, you might be able to find one with a Bama or a Tennessee or a Georgia, but I just can't see it. I think Ohio State is the best offense, and although I am doubtful or a little skeptical to give them the best team in the country right now overall because they haven't really played anyone, I'm gonna be able to change my thought process on that after the game this week, and we're definitely gonna be talking about that this week on our thought process. Now, when we look at the over under, Ohio State is a 15.5 point favorite. Now, this is like one of those really, you talk about the sweet spots where you talk about like within the 2 touchdown line. This is over that 2 touchdown line, 15.5. Does this become a 3-score game? That's really what you have to ask yourself this question. I'm not sure. Although Ohio State has a very good offense, we have seen signs of hope for Penn State. With the exception of the Michigan game, which is what we are expecting this might to be, 15.5 points is still a lot for a team that looked really good against Minnesota last week. Over under 60.5 as well. I'm not sure if I can give Ohio State 15.5 points, Steve. I might have to lean towards Penn State with the points.
Oh, no, I mean, and I was going to mention we're going to be talking about Florida, Georgia later. And the line in that game is 22.5 the last time I saw.
Mhm.
Uh, I think Florida would beat Penn State. I mean, Penn State has proven that they cannot keep up with top 10 ranked opponents. And this has been not just this season over the thing. And then plus, Ohio State, they have the number 2 defense in the country. Again, playing against softer competition, okay, I'll grant you that. But again, they still have to execute the game plans and shut things down. So for me, I think Ohio State covers. I think Ohio State, if everything falls into place, they could even cover the over on this game. I mean, just by themselves. I mean, that's how confident I am in this Ohio State team. I've been saying all along that Ohio State's the number one team in the country. That I have more doubts about Georgia than I do about Ohio State.
Yeah, you have.
But
Mhm.
you know, Sean. The only way that this game stays close is that Sean Clifford has to. He's got to find his game. He really hasn't had a signature game this year. He played well against Minnesota. I think he had 4 touchdowns against Minnesota, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
Yeah.
But he hasn't shown any indication that he's gonna find that magic again against an elite defense. Minnesota is one of those teams we've talked about. Kansas and some other teams that had that early flash, and I was really excited about Minnesota. If you look at that team on paper, I still get kind of excited. But Penn State dominated them, and this isn't Minnesota. Okay, this isn't even Iowa. I mean, this is Ohio State. So um, I really think that this is going to be a signature moment. It's gonna have people now talking. Ohio State needs to be the number one ranked team in the country.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that will be a conversation piece if Ohio State takes care of Penn State, very handily. Even if it's not as bad as Michigan took care of them, I think we finally are going to get the opportunity to see, is Ohio State for real? We haven't seen that with their schedule this year. This is the time. We know we're going to see Ohio State versus Michigan at the end of the year, but until then, this is the best test for the Buckeyes. CJ Stroud, obviously in Heisman contention, one of the top. A lot of people think he is right now the front runner. Another opportunity for him to really show his case. And I think, again, just like his team, this is a prime opportunity for him to really take off. We saw it with Hendon Hooker in Tennessee, where he became a front runner because of his performance against Alabama, a top team. CJ Stroud, this is his time to shine. Let's stick into the Big Ten and let's talk
I
about.
just wanted to just ask one real quick question before we move on to
Sure.
Michigan State.
Yeah.
If Penn State has the kind of game this week that they had against Michigan, does that seat start to warm up under James Franklin?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think that we shouldn't let it go. I think there should be some concern. However, we've seen Penn State in the past, right? They go 6 games, they look real strong, and then they start struggling off the bat. If your only losses are to Michigan and Ohio State, and then you find a way to win the rest of them, I don't know if at this very moment you can give him a hot seat. I would say it starts to get warm. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be a comfy chair for him, but I don't know just yet. Well, yeah, not sure. Not sure yet on that one. I would like to say yes. I would like to say that you should really, pay attention to that. But what we've seen so far throughout the Big Ten, and he's not a terrible coach. And man, I don't know. I'd have to lean towards no right now. Until I can really dig into it more, I'd have to lean towards no.